thing is, we could be running a pattern with food that's actually agitating us, where we can't get a clear read on what actually works for us. And the great thing about the raw food movement is that it's an incredible cleansing type of approach. You know, for most people, I don't recommend they do 100% raw food all the time. You got to find your flow with it. I usually like 70, 80%, and then 20, 30% organic cooked foods, whatever those are for you. You figure out what your ratio is for sustainability. But when you're going through a reset and you're trying to get off all the other stuff and you want to actually get a read on what actually works for you, then getting on a high amount of living food is going to be really helpful. Green vegetable juicing, vegetables, green leafy salads every night. Getting into, and I mean, we're blessed on the island. Like, it's beyond compare. The avocados here can sustain you forever compared to those little like rinky-dinky Haas avocados that you get in Los Angeles that are half the size, way less oils, and cost twice as much. I mean, we have so many avocados here that you can't even sell them all. Like, people in avocado orchards are on the side of the road with a truck bed full of avocados, just like giving them away. It's unbelievable, the amount of abundance that's available to us pretty much wherever we go, if we can see it. So anyways, the great thing about this is that that's a great way to reset your system, because one of the big issues here when you're trying to change your lifestyle, you're trying to upgrade your habits, is that you have to reactivate your sensory system. The thing about processed food and animal foods and cooked food and all that kind of thing is that it desensitizes you from your body. You have to become more sensitive in order to become more sensible. And I don't know about you, but I'm seeing a lot less common sense in our world right now than I would prefer. One of the reasons for that is because people are numb. Right? Yeah, I mean, all of it. But nothing more than the food that we're eating. The food is desensitizing us, and it's essentially numbing us, tranquilizing us, medicating us. It's sedating us. Like, food is a sedative. That's the way most people use it. Yes, no, maybe so. For the most part, food, the way people's relationship with it is as a sedative. They're sedating their emotions. They're sedating their psychological awareness or thought patterns that aren't really working very well for them. Negativity. Sedating them from actually feeling what's going on inside, right? That's why we have the pharmaceutical industry the way it is. It's all medication. But the great thing is, once you start getting on this path, you start going towards meditation. Meditation over medication. Interesting idea. So one other thing I want to mention in this segment too, and we're going to go deeper into all this. This is just kind of the opening introduction. Another thing I want to mention is the elemental forces in our world, in our environment, that are just as important, if not more important, because the food is a pathway. It's not all about the food. The food is an access point for more subtle experiences, for transformation to occur from within. It's the easiest activation point. And once we start getting onto the food thing and we become more sensitive and we become more sensible, then we start to sense the world around us. And this is the whole city-like consciousness, right? Getting out of the concrete jungle and actually getting into a real jungle makes all the difference. And one of the points I want to drive forward here is this idea of elemental nutrition. The whole supplement industry, most of it's owned by the pharmaceutical industry. By the way, just putting that out there. There is a mass epidemic of people supplementing all kinds of things, and really the most important supplements are actually elemental forces. the elemental forces, the life force, like in our food. That's why raw food is so amazing, because it has life force in it. It hasn't been denatured and devitalized and demineralized. It still has life force in it. And that invokes our life force. And then we get connected to the life force around us. And there's 4 primary forces in what we call our biosphere. Right? Our biosphere is pretty much how we interact with the world and the atmosphere. So it basically goes like this. You have your geosphere, which is the earth, right? And you have your atmosphere, which is air. You have the hydrosphere, which is water. And then you have the heliosphere or the photosphere, which is the sun, right? Now it's interesting how you start peeling back the layers on that. What does that have to do with anything? Well, then we start looking at the 4 organs of elimination in the body. Your body naturally detoxes itself. Your body naturally alkalizes itself and keeps your blood chemistry in what we call a homeostasis, equilibrium point, assuming that we're doing the things that help support it. But your body has a hierarchy of priorities that it maintains itself. So this is why somebody can be eating, whatever kind of stuff, goobity-gop stuff, for 50 years, and I've seen it like clockwork in my world. I've seen the worst of the worst. Stage 4 breast cancer, prostate cancer, heart disease, diabetes, type 1, type 2, juvenile diabetes in children. I mean, I've literally seen everything you could imagine in my personal experience. And one thing that I've seen happen like clockwork, and this goes back to the whole ignorance is bliss concept, is that somebody can be doing whatever for 40, 50 years of their life and their body acclimates to it. Right? Because your body works in a hierarchy of priorities, so it will acclimate to whatever it needs to maintain itself. Your hair might start to go, your skin quality might start to go, your nails, your joints, right? Even certain organs and glands might start to atrophy, but your body, because those are less priorities than like your heart or your liver. You know what I'm saying? So your body will work in a hierarchy of priorities, but then, like clockwork, there is always the straw that broke the camel's back, right? And I don't know if you've seen it. I've seen it like clockwork, where somebody is doing really good, and they're like, oh, I've been doing this for 40, 50 years. I don't have to change anything until one day. It all falls apart in one day or 1 week or 1 month. And all of a sudden they're on a gurney getting dialysis, or they get that diagnosis, and all of a sudden everything starts to fall apart. Has anyone ever seen this before? Maybe with a family member or something? Yeah, it's crazy. And so anyways, bringing it back to this point on our biosphere and elemental nutrition, elemental forces, our body has inner elemental forces that are connected with our universe, that are connected with the cosmos. We have cells in our body that are signaling devices for the solar system. And we call this lunar cycles or circadian rhythms, right? Your circadian rhythm is not just your sleep cycle. It's a modulation cycle that's connected to the lunar cycle, the cycles of the moon, the cycles of our sun and of our earth and all that, how that's all wrapped together. And when we get connected to the earth, our cycles, our hormone cycles, our circadian rhythms, our sleep cycles, our neurological cycles start to calibrate. Okay? So we have 4 organs of elimination which basically allow our body to detox and maintain homeostasis, which is our lungs for respiration, expelling out what we're breathing in. We have our colon, which is defecation, elimination. We have our kidneys, which is urination. And then we have our skin, which is perspiration. We got that part? Okay, so the 4 organs of elimination are your lungs, respiration, are your kidneys, urination, your colon, defecation, elimination, and then your skin for perspiration. These are all channels that your body utilizes to eliminate certain types of toxins that get built up in the body. Does that idea make sense? Okay, now there's one more layer to this, which is more of an alchemical and like Taoist tonic herbal perspective, which is, I love this part of it, because then it really brings that metaphorical, archetypical understanding in, which is if you line up that concept with our environment, and then you line it up with our inner environment, our lungs are the air, respiration, air. The elemental forces, like in Chinese medicine, they draw heavily on the elemental forces of our planet and how that interacts with us. So it's the air, getting fresh air, clean air, being out, breathing, that kind of thing. Then you have your kidneys, which is water. So getting a connection with the hydrological system of our Earth and getting actually connected with spring water is how that ultimately translates. Because the water we put into our body is really the biggest information. It's the most authentic information that we get from our environment. So if we have like tap water, then we might run the risk of having tap water consciousness. Some of you know, and some of you get that. Yeah. Some of you get that deeply. That's a deep one. That's a deep riddle that we can't digress into right now. But then you have your colon, which is earth. Right? And the way your body works in connection to the forces of our world is that there's an in-out process. What we take in comes out. And there's this cyclical feedback relationship that we have. And then you have then you have your skin, which is perspiration, and it's the elemental force of fire, or the photosphere of the sun. How does that work? Well, you get underneath the sun, and you get connected to the photons, the light energy that touches your bare skin. And we have a whole world of people that have been programmed to believe that the sun causes cancer. Is that not the most preposterous thing ever? I mean, I can't even water it down at this point. You know what's a little more of a logical, reasonable explanation? Let's think about the entire dermological and cosmetic industry. Does it make any sense that ancestral indigenous human beings that have roamed around this earth for thousands, millions, whatever belief you have around how long we've been here, have been doing just fine, completely, fully exposed to the elements in the sun, and cancer is more of a recent occurrence relative to human history? Does it make sense that maybe it's what we put on our skin? And our skin, right underneath the epidermal layers of our skin, is something called a lymphatic system. And there's 4 inches of plugs right in the pores of our skin that channel right into our lymphatic system that is attempting to purify our blood. So all those chemicals that are cooking on our skin are actually going directly into our blood and cooking on the microbes and the microbiome that's on top of our skin. I don't know. You have to kind of like just discern this for yourself, right? But that's something that I think is critical because, and we're gonna go deeper into a lot of this stuff and digress a bit in the other topics we have. But we're talking about what's essential with our food and different approaches that we can take with feeding and nourishing ourselves. And then also there's other forms of nourishment. There's elemental nourishment, connecting with our environment.